All right, so welcome to the On Purpose podcast, where we're here to live a life of purpose, to be flourished and fulfilled in all areas of our life. Got Kirk McDowell here, and I wanted to distinguish what is all in as a commitment.
Mm. Mm. All in as a commitment. So let's start off with commitment. Um, the word hierarchy has been very politicized, so I'll start there. So, um, uh, hierarchy is actually a really beautiful thing, and anyone who says hierarchies are bad is actually inside of a hierarchy in which it's better to not have a hierarchy than it is to have a hierarchy, which is what a hierarchy is. It's a decision to decide what's more important than everything else. So even the person that says that hierarchies are bad is inside of a hierarchy because there's something else that they would have that would be better, which means they're deciding what's more important than something else. All right. So commitment is deciding that something is important. And it's not, it is a internal, it's a choice that comes from the inside out, at least how we use commitment here. You know, so this is not necessarily a definition that you would get in Webster's dictionary, but it is a distinguishing of commitment as we use that distinction, that world and language here at Earthwaking University. So a commitment is a decision to make something important above maybe everything else or above most other things. So, for example, I have a commitment to be a man of character. And what that means to me in a really shorthand, the shortest hand would be doing the right thing when no one's looking. Um, you know, developing myself to be a contribution. Um, uh, taking making important to me, honoring the words that come out of my mouth, making it important to me to come from love in all matters rather than acting and doing and not acting to get love from the world or from somebody. It's doing what I know works and stop doing what I know doesn't work. And it's relating to myself as whole and complete. Now I'm committed to that. And I've made a promise to myself. I've committed, if you will, like I've made a promise to myself that these, I will hold this important, maybe not above everything else. I don't want to get into it. Is it the most important thing? Because you could have multiple commitments and they're all like really incredibly important, right? So I'm holding this above most other things and giving my word to the fulfillment of this thing, being a man of character, operating from integrity, building world-class teams, developing a leadership program, creating a self-sustainable village, bringing heaven, creating heaven on earth. Um, having the commitment points to a promise to fulfill the commitment. So now I have to talk about promise because promise is another word that's all distorted. So when I say promise, I mean an act of creation by a creator. Wait, what are we talking about? Promises? Yes, talking about promises. I'll break it down. If I say, hey, I'm going to meet you tomorrow at 3 o'clock, I just created something like from nothing, like a magic spell. Poof, like a miracle. This thing exists that didn't exist before I uttered those words. And that thing that exists is a future in which we're going to meet tomorrow morning or tomorrow, whatever I said, whatever
Yeah.
we're into, right? And so a commitment is a promise, an act of creation by a creator to fulfill whatever's being committed to. So all in commitment would, to me, designate an even higher level of commitment than what I just distinguished. Because what I just distinguished is a commitment that might exist among other commitments. I'm choosing to be a man of character. I'm choosing to build, I'm choosing to develop leadership in me and around me. You know, choosing to be a contribution in the world. I'm choosing to spread light, love, and connection wherever I go, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now they're all in the same neighborhood and they're distinct and they're kind of hold a similar space altogether. But with regard to being all in, I'm all in about supporting this mission of Earthwaking University. And again, just a summary, a momentary expression of the commitment of Earthwaking University would be bringing heaven on earth, following God's will. Right, modeling what it is to be a new kind of human being in a new earth in an interdependent community where we're all taking care of each other, we're all owning our shit and telling the truth. I've never seen such a thing anywhere. I've heard lots of people make similar noises, but if upon very brief, closer examination, it's all smoke and mirrors. People are fighting and discordant, and egos are running the show, and you know, all that. For me, an all-in commitment is like a divine covenant, like giving a promise that is unretractable. Regarding my all-in commitment, or I'm gonna fuse that with divine covenant. We might pull that apart in a minute or two, but and it's like a promise that I'm not gonna go back on. It's a promise for the rest of my life. It's a promise that supersedes all other promises. And as the ego continues to pop up and try to assert separation and fear and dominance and all the things that the ego wants to take and lie and steal and manipulate and smoke and mirrors and all the things, the all-in commitment is a buttress, a fortification against the ego. It's like, nope, I'm not going back to my old ways. I'm not doing that thing because I made my bed and I'm gonna lie in it. So let me pause there.
Yeah. Thank you for that, because what I'm hearing, I'm really hearing the distinguishment of the growing up in that phase with commitment, like you're building one's character, you're doing personal development, you're setting goals, you're setting time frames to meet someone. It's the act of the creator, you know,
Yep.
yeah, how you say it, but it's an act
Act
of
of creation by a creator.
by a creator, yes. And so in order to accomplish those things, you have to have the commitment, right? And your word and integrity to have those things being fulfilled. And then I heard right towards the end a different type of commitment. And it was about the waking up. You know, I'm committed to this and I'm not going back on it. I'm all in on this. And so my biggest thing is that I'm recognizing is you're going to be met with the thing that is going to want you to not fulfill the commitment when you've made a strong
The
commitment.
challenge.
Yeah, the challenge, the challenge. And so how does one, when they're faced with that, how do you face that inside of those challenging moments?
Well, I don't mean to imply perfection, right? So, you know, the challenge comes in. Somebody speaks to me a certain way after I just got through with another conversation where someone spoke to me a certain way, after I'm tired and hungry, everything happens at the same time, and boom. So, you know, I and others are still a flawed vehicle. So the commitment is kind of the answer to the question. It's self-referential, but you know, how to handle the challenge. Well, remind yourself of your commitment. Remind yourself of why you made the commitment. Remind yourself of what life was like before that commitment. I used to absolutely not be a man of character. 100% not that. Maybe not 100% not that, but definitely, that's not the label someone would put up me or anyone else would have put on me. And so my ego I still have the same ego as I had back in the day. It knows all the dirty tricks, and has been to the show and done the things and said the things and whatever. And so all that's still in there. And it's a, temptation is a thing. There's a constant, what about this? And what about that? And what about this? And can you believe he said that too? Don't you think he deserves to get put back in his place? Just, just da 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 da. Do you really feel like leading that class tonight? Yeah. Yeah, whatever. Would you rather just take it out? No!
Cut it out.
I've made my promise. I'm like sticking to it. Yeah. So for me, the commitment, the covenant is the defense, if you will. It's the especially as it gets more public, right? So I'm very public about my commitments, and that assists me in staying on the path. I also have a lot of responsibilities, and the people who are at the other end of my responsibilities are very important to me. So while quite frankly, if I was on a desert island by myself with an unlimited supply of Netflix, pizza, and red wine, I'm not really sure how much integrity I would have. Because there's nothing at stake. There's nothing to, but there would be nothing at stake other than me. And that's not terribly motivating for me. But now you put my family on the line, and that's another matter. So I'll do for others more rigorously said, it's much easier for me to do for others than it is for me to do for myself. So that's another way I get myself locked in. So basically, I'm putting myself in sort of an energetic
Container, yeah.
container. Yeah. I tell the story about the two. Have I told the story on here, the two horses? Okay, so I won't repeat. But I put the bit in my mouth on purpose and by design. I'm not screaming for freedom to be impulsive and do whatever I want to do, whatever I want to do with no constraints. I'm not screaming for that. I'm screaming for, let me be of greater service to humanity. Oh, well, here, put this bit in your mouth and we'll pull you right along. Great. Take me.
Yeah.
And as long as the direction is more better service to humanity, more effective, and quite frankly, my life has personally blossomed. The higher my commitment, the deeper my covenant, the more seriously I take myself and what I'm promising, what I'm up to, and what I'm out to deliver for humanity, the more my life has become abundant in every category. So, the ego will forget all of that for a piece of chocolate. So it's like getting better at reminding myself of why I have the commitment and really what's important to me, which can get lost in momentary moments of in moments of desire.
Yeah. That reminds me of people don't do what they should do, they do what they must do, and you got to find your must, and
yeah. Yes, that's exactly it. Yeah, so that's a perfect way. That's a much more elegant way than what I just said of I'll do more for others than I'll do for myself. Taking care of myself is a should, taking care of others for me is a must.
Yeah.
Being of service.
I'm reminded I watched King Arthur, Legend of the Sword with Dennis the other day.
Yeah.
And it's such a badass movie. I highly recommend that movie.
Okay. I'm not sure I've seen it.
Oh yeah, it's so good. And he's got the the sword, you know, it's like the sword and the stone, and he's got to pull it out, and
Yeah.
it's got so much power in it, but he has to go back in time to revisit and look at like one of the darkest moments of his life. And it's hard for him to look at it, you know, and what one of the mages has said was like, you got to find something worth it. And then you get into this scene, and all of his friends and everybody that he cares about is like about ready to get pummeled by these people. And it's like, all right. And he finally looks at it and accesses that power from the sword and just, you know, takes it on. But that's where that really comes in for me, is like, you really got to find something that's worth it. And I found that the other day, you know, it's my brothers and sisters, you know, and I'm like, whoo, and I'm looking at it, I'm like looking at the gap of my leadership in between where I'm at right now currently, and that's literally what's lighting the fire up underneath me again, you know. And it's not easy to look at, but you're willing to look at it and find a purpose that's so much stronger and greater than yourself. It's worth it. It's so worth it. So I just really appreciate that, Kirk.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. So okay, here's the other question is,
Okay.
all in as surrender, because we're faced with things waking up, and we've got to surrender our attachments and let go of things that we think is the way, you know. So how do you distinguish that in your words?
Uh, well, in the lived experience of being all in, there will be temptations. And so surrender is being willing to let go of what you know. God's plans always never make sense. And so now this was a journey for me. I am someone who has had some pretty significant victories in my life through hard work and being like out creating my competitors, better mousetraps, better systems, better process, better training, like that. And that has come from like more than just the transformational training. I had another 10 years before that of business sales and negotiating and, you know, mindset and just, you know, management training, all that kind of stuff. So, um, um, it really takes something to give up decades of successful recipes. No, I know how to build teams. No, I know how to manage a meeting. No, I know how to create a program. No, I've been doing this for decades. No, I've got extraordinary results. I absolutely know what I'm talking about around certain topics. And then we do something else. Excuse me. Up, stop, up, hold the phone, close the door. Everybody be quiet. Everybody stop moving around. Obviously, something happened. We're off track. Let me just straighten them out real quick. Here's what's happening on the inside, right?
Yeah.
Nobody moves, nobody gets hurt.
Arms and legs inside of the boat all times.
Yes, or else. Yes. I don't say or else, but I definitely communicate that with a tone and vibe of my voice.
Me too.
Yes. The or else is just simply applied. Anyway, so surrender is the most difficult for the smart people and the accomplished people. And, you know, controlling people. Because those folks have made their living by understanding and knowledge and doing things correctly, which is not how God works. God's plan always never makes sense. And so you know, when we follow God's direction, that might be a whole nother podcast. I don't know. What does that even mean? I'm sure I don't. Well, what are they talking about? How do they know? I could just imagine 37 questions popping out right there. But anyway, it often is directly contradictory with best practices. And then
Yeah.
we do the thing, and it turns out, oh shit, that is perfect. Oh, well, snap a daddle do. How about that?
I'm gonna write that one.
Yes. Well, who saw that coming? And at this point, it's happened so many times, I don't even twitch anymore. But it's been a difficult journey for me because I still hold myself responsible, whether we're using my best practices, which is where we started, you know, for
Yeah.
years. I was kind of the channel builder, the planner, I built stuff. Well, John and I both built stuff, but we built different stuff. There's a huge category of stuff that I built. And I was under my own jurisdiction and making decisions and boom, and being responsible for it working or not working and moving stuff forward and growing and growing and growing and growing. All of a sudden, one day, we do whatever the Holy Spirit tells us. It's like, whoop, up, 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 up. I understand there was a misunderstanding, no problem. I'm prepared to be gracious. Let me say this one more time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, watch this. Now, all these things are going on the inside, right? So, oh no, we're not doing that. Wait and see. So anyway, but I've just gotten accustomed to it, and I'm someone who very, very keenly with great attention, observes the fruit of what everything that's going on around me. Observes the fruit of individuals, of teams, of our collective community, of myself, of the people I'm mentoring and coaching, because that you know them by their fruits, and people can much more easily talk a great game than they can produce beautiful fruit. And
Yeah.
so a lot of people are quite good at talking a great game. So I pretty much ignore all that. And I just, okay, when you're done talking, just show me your results. Okay, good. Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh my gosh, I cried and everything. Could you turn around and show me your results right quick? Because that's the only thing I'm really interested in, right? So with regard to following God and following the Holy Spirit, that was very uncomfortable for me and new and wasn't something I agreed to on the front end and all that kind of stuff, So I was wildly uncomfortable. But in addition to being surrendered and just going with it initially, I now have the confirmation of how I confirm everything, which is watching the results. And the results have been extraordinary. And so, I don't know if I have any further questions about how we do that part of our business. So the surrender is a big deal, and it is proving to be very difficult for most people. A lot of people will nod and smile when you talk about surrender. Oh yeah, surrender, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Right.
When you're in the moment.
Yeah, right. So you get to the point where they have a preference. Oh no, that's all great, but this obviously is different. Nope, nothing's different.
Boy, do I know that one.
Oh, you don't know what a sacred cow is? Trust me, pretty soon you will.
Gosh.
We're gonna get that full. We're gonna get all your sacred cows fully distinguished. As people are like exploding and bouncing off the walls and stuff. Oh, there's one.
It's so crazy that you say that because it's been so present here in the village. This is why I'm even bringing up the topic is one, even in myself, we just had one of the villagers kick himself out and, came back onto the property, and I decided to take it like where I'm fully in a moment where I'm like, I know that you're supposed to be restoring integrity. You're not supposed to be on the property. My preference right now is to tell you F off and get out of here, and then I get humbled right at the breakfast table, and it's like, did we tell this person that they they couldn't be here, and like, so it's just woo, I'm like, oh, meow.
Yes.
And it really checkmated me on surrendering,
Yeah.
surrendering what I think that I know, what I think
Yes.
is right in the moment.
Yes.
And, God's plans always never make sense. And I don't need to protect anything. But I've been so ingrained and taught that I
Yeah.
need to protect and say my piece. That's not even peace. So
Say my say.
yeah, say my opinion.
Yes.
So So on that note, when you're in a breakdown of your commitment, how do you find the golden thread? Like
Mm.
the breakthrough, learning the lesson, real time. When you're in that for the people that are watching.
So one barrier to finding the golden thread is being hijacked, which is a physiological state of being triggered, and your reptilian brain shuts down the other two aspects of your brain, which control emotion and thought. And it does that for a very specific reason. It's from evolution. When we were prey, like we would get eaten by bigger animals, it was very important at certain moments to be highly reactive, like get to safety like immediately, with no time to process your feelings or think about the greater implications of a lion. Hey, lion, wow. No time for that. So
No.
hijack is literally a state, a reactive state, where it's difficult to think and difficult to process your feelings and thoughts on purpose and by design. Um, I'm sorry, would you give me the question again? Let me just have the form of it.
Yeah, like when you're faced with breakdown, like
Right. Okay.
yeah.
Okay, good. So the first thing you got to do is, if your body is hijacked, you can literally separate it, like your body, like not I'm hijacked, my body is hijacked. You think of it like that for a moment. So my body is hijacked, breathing fast, I'm having, sometimes malicious thoughts or whatever, right? Breathing fast and getting cranked up. The four manifestations are fight, freeze, appease, and fight, flight, freeze, and appease. So mine is fight. My go-to is, if I get really triggered, the experience of aggression starts to fill me. And so the first thing I do is get control of my body. And I do that in two different ways. One is physical and one is mental. So physically, I get control of my body by, if I can remove myself from the environment for just a moment, that helps. If I can close my eyes for just, a couple of seconds, that often helps. Taking a deep breath and retreat into my heart for a moment. So on the outside, I'm getting control of my body again. My body has kind of run off with itself, if you will, all getting cranked up. I didn't tell it to get cranked up, it did it, right? So getting control of my body, breathing, getting my heart rate down, cooling off, relaxing. And then mentally, I'm reminding myself that everything is perfect. All things work for good for those who believe and are called according to his plan. So whatever I'm perceiving or my body's perceiving that is having me be physically hijacked is an illusion. Now, it doesn't look like an illusion, and it certainly doesn't feel like an illusion, but I've had enough practice where I could say, well, it doesn't look like it. I got that. Doesn't feel like it. Super duper got that. But I've been on the other side of it enough times. I know that that doesn't make any difference if it doesn't look like it or feel like it. That's actually irrelevant. That's just part of the game. That's the design of the game, right? Somebody's going to say something. Your body's going to freak out, or something's going to happen. Your body's going to freak out, and and your mind's going to make up a bunch of shit that's not real. And the body's going to try to keep it going on as long as it can. Let's say that's the game. And to just make it more difficult, the whole experience makes the real you, the observer in the whole thing, it makes it so it's easy to miss that the whole thing is happening. Like there's a sort of a barrier to awareness. When you get surprised, like you kind of forget to like, wait a minute, is everything, am I okay? Yeah, I think I'm okay. Right. So for me, it's been practice. I'm pretty good at when I feel the and my body's like 3, 2, 1, launch. They go 3, 2, whoa, 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 whoa. And I hit the pause button. Right. And then it's much easier to stop a train if it's going half a mile an hour than if it's going 50 miles an hour. So I try to catch the hijack at about 0.5 miles an hour. Right. It's pretty easy to stop. And then find the golden thread. Right. I remind myself that everything that's not beautiful is an illusion. Let me find the golden thread in this moment. Well, I'm developing myself. I'm becoming a better leader. I have an opportunity to model what it is to transcend and elevate past the trigger and actually make a difference and be a contribution in the world, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, I do have an answer for this person because I used to be that person and I can see what that person is dealing with. And if I could get over myself for a moment, I might be able to contribute something valuable, like that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
my direction I'm looking is like contribution towards freedom or love, kind of always. I'm looking for an angle. And I wrote down this morning in one of my notes, never waste a breakdown. So breakdowns occur, and those breakdowns can be beautiful teaching moments for an individual, for yourself, or for a community.
Yeah.
So trigger comes in, hijack happens, start to get control of my body. I start to remember who I am, whose I am, what I'm here for, what I'm up to. And now it's to others, it looks probably almost real time. Something comes in, boom, I'm back. Now it didn't start off that short. It didn't start off at all. I used to have a terrible temper and that would make people pay for pissing me off. But that's all behind me now.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I
Hmm.
I really hear the deeper sense of purpose and meaning, in every moment, making every moment count. And when you expressed like, hey, I've been this person before, and maybe I can create a lesson and in that something that's valuable for both of us to take away from the moment. Um, that really strikes a chord for my heart, and how to be there. Because in the moment you're lost inside of a story, and so to really drop into your heart and find that purpose again, find the meaning to it. It's way different to act accordingly from that space. And it just takes a second to drop into your heart. Um,
Felt another answer to that question, sort of the must side of it, which is
yeah,
me personally, I have a lot of eyes on me here in the village and in our community. So if I were to indulge an egoic desire to, teach someone a lesson in some particular way, and if that lacked integrity, uh, that would negatively impact our movement. So for me in particular, that's probably true of everybody, but me and specifically, because of the role that I play here. So that's also part of the must for me. That's also part of the that it must be that I operate at the highest level possible. That's a must for me.
yeah. And what were you were saying this the other day, even listening for the highest, what was it, the highest listening in the room?
Speaking to the highest listening in the room.
Yeah, speaking to the high. Can you distinguish that just a little
Yeah.
bit? Yeah.
Yeah. So this is it came to me as a leading distinction as I was being taught to lead to, rooms of multiple people. As the rooms gets bigger, first you're leading to 3 or 4 people, then 5 people, 10, 20, then after a while, I was regularly leading to rooms of about 100. And in a room of 100 people, you're going to have some people who are completely dialed in to where you're going and where you're coming from and what you're saying, and they're jumping up and saying hallelujah at all the right times, and they're just dialed in. And you can have some people that are just glazed over the whole time. As a leader, as a young leader, for me, it was confusing. It was like unclear for me who to speak to. Do I speak to the person who's getting it? Do I try to go and rescue the person who's glazed over? do I'm mostly led to both people. Like da, 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 da. That's mostly what I came up with. But my mentors at the time said, lead to the highest listening. And here's why. If you don't lead to the highest listening, the people who were actually there for the right reasons don't get what they came for.
Oh,
Yeah. So that's one reason. If you lead to the lowest listening, then the person who's having a hard time understanding gets it, and then they can turn their brain off. Oh, I got it. So you're not really serving them either.
yeah.
And in a transformational environment, it is the uniqueness of the environment that makes it powerful. It is the rigor of integrity. It is the, it is the confronting of dysfunction. Yes, it's uncomfortable and people don't want it to be them, and people, will talk shit about it from time to time. However, that's why this environment is unique. And everybody who's here talking about how great the environment is, that's an integral part of it. It's not like a little something we stick on the side, right? Okay, integrity, coming from love and honoring your word and being whole and complete and do what you know works. Those aren't just afterthoughts. That's actually what has this community work, right? And so I'm sorry, can I have the question? Can I have the question?
Yeah, it was
Oh, speak to the highest listening in the room.
yeah, speaking to the highest listening in the room and distinguishing what that is.
Yeah. So
Because you said about speaking to the lowest, they're not
yeah.
getting.
So as you're speaking to the highest listening in the room, some people will get it. Some people will get most of it. Some people will get half of it. Some people will get not so much of it, right? But in all those categories, you're giving everybody something to reach for. We're an educational institution, right? It's giving them the opportunity to not be force-fed, to not be a victim, to not be a child, to not have everything catered to them. It's giving the opportunity to like kind of, oh, well, maybe I can stretch a little further than anyone's ever challenged me to do. Maybe I can understand more, maybe, all that. And additionally, you're planting seeds. So lots in this work in transformational coaching and leading, often huge benefits come after the event, from 1 day to 1 week to 1 month, even to 1 year later. Someone all of a sudden hears like, oh, that's what they were talking about. Holy smokes, that's amazing. That's been there the whole time. I didn't even know. Right. So planting seeds is also a critical aspect of the work that we do. So you put all that together. And it also, if you're leading to the highest listening, you also might get more questions, i.e. more participation, i.e. more opportunities to get in with people and see what's really going on and support people in whatever they're dealing with. Assist each person in getting into their own unique next step. So that's why I lead to the highest listening in the room.
Wow. Yeah, and people can find themselves. Wow.
Yeah. And people can get together and start talking, like, do you know what I mean? I don't know. And that's good too. People start supporting each other, and yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Um,
Let me say one more thing. In my
yeah.
line of work, it's almost never that when I'm sharing or distinguishing or leading or coaching, it's almost never that the full depth of what I'm pointing to gets seen or heard. So I'm always dealing with getting as much recognition as I can right now, and then coming back later. Like, I'm all about getting it all done tonight. Like, my whole leading style is geared towards that, warrior mentality, like everything like that. However, not all battles resolve on isn't that way. So I want to make sure I'm setting up opportunities for people to hear what's being said later.
Wow. Yeah, and you were talking about the other day, like people need to hear it at least 3 times right now,
Oh,
but
yeah, That's
It's
on a really
as
good day.
a
That's a really committed person on a really good day. It's more like 30. Yes.
not because I'm hearing things way differently now than I think
Yes.
I have,
Yeah.
you know, and I would hear them here and
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I can conceptualize
Oh
that. And I
yeah.
can
Oh
say,
yeah, I
oh,
got
yeah.
it. Yes.
Well, and
Yes.
it's like, no,
Yes.
no, you don't got it. Because then once you finally realize, you're like, oh
Yeah,
crap.
exactly.
And
That's why I know people heard me. Yeah. So when people are all smiles and giggles and laughing when I'm laughing, I'm like, well, I don't think you're quite getting all.
you just
Let me try
and
again.
yeah, I just I love the interconnectedness of all of this, you know, and just where we're at on the journey and like how you started this about with hierarchy. It's
Yes. Let's start let's start the most triggering way possible.
but it's you're not going to make it out of this if you don't have people that have been where you've been and can give you a hand out, you know, like come on, like a hand up, not a handout. Let me rephrase that real quick. A hand up. You know, you've got to want it. You got to have that desire inside of your heart to do that. And we're a community that's dedicated to that for ourselves. One, like we're committed first here. We're all in here. We're saying like this shall be, and then we're doing that as a community together, and we're holding each other's hands on that journey. And I really appreciate that. And so, I mean, I'm going to just segue into this, you know, whether you're in the growing up work and self developing yourself or in the waking up work, we're here for you. We're here as a leadership team dedicated to service and finding your voice from the inside out. The Visionary Leadership Program, Kirk McDowell is now doing a new iteration of this. It's going to be a 2.0 version coming soon. And right now it's just, it is such a beautiful community packed with leaders that are ready and committed to look at the things that have been holding us back and setting ourselves free. So all of that's going to be in the description box down below for you guys. And we're here to support you. Reach out if you have any questions. And just thank you, Kirk. Thank you again for your mentorship and this just being a safe container for all of this to be exposed and creating leaders that are really dedicated. So appreciate you.
You're welcome.
All right. Thanks for listening.